and thanks for joining us. A busy night tomorrow for Thunder Bay City Council, who will be asked to take on millions in new long-term debt and assume responsibility for monitoring local taxi cabs. The $18.2 million in loans would fund the second phase of Golf Links Road and help TBT make infrastructure upgrades. The municipally owned company wants to borrow $10 million. TBT CEO Dan Topatai said earlier this year their balance sheets were healthy, but it's a good time to borrow. The other $8.2 million, if approved, would go towards 4-laning golf links between Oliver Road and Riviera Drive, including a new set of traffic lights at that intersection. Taking on the additional debt concerned some on council when the recommendation first came in January. Council will also be back to ask the authority over taxi cabs from the Police Services Board. The board believes the move will have a positive impact on those who use the service. Well, it was a unique opportunity for teens in grade 8 who struggle with daily challenges to go out into the world and display what makes them come alive. The showing of their work drew large crowds to Marina Park, and for many of those in attendance, it was an eye-opening experience. Mike Albanese reports.
The Canadian Mental Health Association selected a group of people who tend to have their lives focus on the negatives of their mental illnesses and told them to forget about it and focus on what makes them come alive. The Photo Voice project requires them to take a photo that shows what it is that helps them achieve this feeling. The presentation aimed to show the public what they captured and to show the artists that they don't need to be tied down by their illness anymore.
We gave people 8 of these individuals cameras. They went out into the community and they took pictures, and it forced them to kind of stop identifying with the illness and really looking at, well, what does make me come alive? You know, so when you turn on those 5 senses, your sight, your smell, your touch, you start to see things differently. And I think you start to be more appreciative of things.
Appreciation was definitely a skill earned by the artist. Many said they used to see life through only their vision, but now they've had the opportunity to see the world in a greater light.
It really made me see art absolutely everywhere. Everywhere I look, I see a work of art. It's excellent inspiration to do artworks and just explore. It'll definitely help also as an artist, as my ambition is to be an artist. So it's definitely a good start to get in the public. Before I had no confidence in myself as an artist, but now I really feel like I can do good things with it.
Lindsay De La Rosa was inspired by hearing the positive feedback from her group members. The program let her take some time off thinking about her mental challenges, and she's since enrolled in the arts program at Lakehead University. She's looking to pursue the arts she now sees in everyday life, and she's not the only one who sees the beauty in what the world offers.
I think just the ability to look at things differently with fresh eyes and really taking on all your senses when you are looking at these things.
Jennifer Hebert was another artist who had her eyes opened from the project. Her reaction was similar to the rest of the group. They all have learned how to be more resilient and restore balance to their lives. Mike Albanese, TBT News.
Well, it's about that time when the lights dim, people tend to grab a little popcorn, and the Northwest Film Fest kicks off. The 21st annual event hit theaters this weekend and brought in one dedicated group of moviegoers. People were lined up outside the door at 9 a.m. this morning just waiting to get inside. Some of the movies on the reel were Philomena, Inside Llewyn Davis, Nebraska, and Fruitvale Station starring local actor Kevin Durant. There were lots of award-winning films on hand, both English and international, and this most popular category was comedy.
Try to achieve a balance among dramas and comedies and documentaries. And this year our messaging has been that we're very fortunate in the number of comedies we have this year, in an unusual proportion. Usually we have dramas and documentaries galore, and we're crying for lighter fare. But this time we have a lot of lighthearted movies that I think will buoy people's spirits as they deal with the challenging weather.
The final showing will take place next Sunday. Well, since the Resolute pulp mill in Fort Frances shut down indefinitely at the end of January, the town has been building a brand it hopes will make it jump off the page. It won't be released until April, but John Thompson got a peek at the plan behind the brand.
After turning out paper for more than a century, Mayor Roy Avis is ready to consider Fort Frances might be coming to the end of its role.
We're hoping at the mill we can see some future in the mill here in Fort Frances, but if we don't, we feel that we have to reach out and try to find some area that we can get some economic development from.
When the first paper machine went down in 2012, permanently laying off 200 workers, the city began planning how to support the logging industry outside of the mill's walls. Now that the entire mill is idle with no startup in sight, that economic renovation has become a rebuild. An economic plan leading to a branding exercise that will not only change how Fort Frances sees itself, but how it sells itself.
What we used to say when people said, I'm from Fort Frances, what is Fort Frances? Fort Frances is a pulp and paper community on the U.S.-Canadian border. So now who are we? And so we had to redefine that and redefine ourselves sort of in terms of what target markets we're going to look at and who's interested in us and how we could be different than other communities.
Tourism is expected to play a major role in the town's new compass bearing, but Drysdale says opportunities for value-added wood could emerge if the Resolute controlled forest was shared between several communities.
I'm sort of cognizant of the fact there's probably extra fiber in the forest that's not being used. I don't know what it is. I don't have any access to that. That all sits in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Resolute, which is not a bad thing. It just is not a very effective way. If our asset is the forest and I'm the economic development person, and I don't have any access to that information, or it kind of is, it's okay if the pulp and paper mill works. When it doesn't work.
At the top of the agenda, gold. Town Council has already approved a subdivision development to attract several hundred miners at the planned new Gold Rainy River project, and Avis Field's commercial and industrial real estate is ready to move.
Our council has made a decision to put a subdivision in for future housing building. I do believe that we have a lot of industrial lots in the community that are ready to go. We do have, retail, commercial property that's for sale in the community. So yeah, there is a lot of things that we can, instantly get on board.
Fort Frances will unveil its bets for the future in April, but it will still be paying the bills for what it has been. Even as it turns away from pulp production, the town still owes Resolute $1.7 million in tax refunds due to the mill's devaluation in last year's property assessment. John Thompson, TBT News.
Atikokan Mayor Dennis Brown believes his council can hold tax increases in the 2014 budget down to 3%. But all eyes are moving to the town's arena for what will happen next. The town that was once home to 7,000 people has a population half that size today, but the infrastructure demands have remained constant. In order to maintain services, council passed a 3% increase in 2013, and that's expected to happen again in 2014.
Price of things keeps going up, and it's going to be difficult to, to have a 2014 budget without a small increase. Like, we have some outstanding issues with opening up a new landfill site, and our arena needs repairing, and this all has to be taken into consideration. So it's going to be a challenge, but somehow we'll work through it.
The Atikokan Community Arena has been the subject of complaints for years over its length and width. But over the past few years, structural concerns have taken over aesthetic ones.
There's the pipes underneath. One did break back in 2007, and we had some challenges there with the ice heaving, and we're in a situation now where if we don't correct that, it may happen again. So we're working on a plan to upgrade the arena infrastructure, make it good for the next 40 years.
Atikokan has applied to the Heritage Fund and FedNor for funding to convert the aging arena to a wellness center and an event center. Well, it's been nearly 5 months since a huge fire closed the James Street Swing Bridge, and there's finally some activity taking place at the site. For our TV News Watch question of the day, we wanted to know, when do you think the James Street Swing Bridge will be repaired and ready to reopen?
Good question. Not for a while, I don't think. I think they're going to delay and drag their feet as long as they can and wait for government support, either from the city, the First Nations, or any other level of government before they decide to do anything.
I honestly don't know, but I sure hope it's very soon. I'm glad to see that they've actually started on it.
And it should be open in April, hopefully. Everybody be happy then. I will too. Instead of going around the other way and getting hit by somebody on 62 flying by.
Well, I think they hope that it will be ready soon because I think it's taking away from their business, so I do hope it is.
Hopefully by the summer. It's a long ride going to gas up.
Somebody's sleeping on the switch. Either it's the railway or basically the railway, because there's something drastically wrong. If they can have the trains going across it, there's no reason why they shouldn't have the cars crossing it.
50 years ago, the face of Thunder Bay was very different, and part of what has helped the city in good and bad times has been the United Way, which celebrated its golden anniversary this past week. When the United Way set up shop in Thunder Bay in 1964, it raised just shy of $200,000 in its first year. United Way Board President Jules Tupker says the need has grown exponentially since then, and last year they raised $2.5 million in support of numerous organizations and causes. He says the city has undoubtedly been shaped in part by what the United Way has contributed, and it's gone from a fundraising agency to helping the community.
On all those programs, and you can see it in some of the programs that we have started. As I say, the RFDA, we started the RFDA. The 211, we were instrumental in the formation of the 211. The Evergreen United Neighborhood in the Simpson-Ogden Street area, and there are other programs like that going on in the community, and I can see us getting involved in those also. And clearly we're trying to get more involved in the Aboriginal community and to try and help that organization out, those organizations out also.
Tupker says there will always be new hurdles for the United Way to overcome, and there will always be a need for them to fulfill.